How's it going, everybody? Bryan, Alvarez, and Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio. It is September 25, 2018. Figure4online.com/WrestlingObserver.com. Got a lot of news to get into here today, including Raw from Monday night. But first off, do we have any sort of update at the moment on Liv Morgan?
She's okay. I mean, as far as what okay, she's okay. I would think from watching that she has a concussion from. But it's not, it won't be determined until she's checked out more. And as far as that goes, once, until that happens, you don't know how long she's out of action or the seriousness of it, but she was okay after, I think that she kind of had some memory loss maybe, but she was okay. But it was, she got kicked in the head twice.
I could not believe what I saw during that match. She's in there with Brie Bella. Brie's doing the S-kicks, and Brie kicks her twice right in the face. It looks like the first one knocked her out, and then as she's slumping forward, she gets kicked a second time in the face. She's unconscious.
The first one, I think it was just, she was kicking her high in the chest, and then one of them looked like it was a little, that Brie was throwing when it's a little high and probably nailed her in the jaw, which seemed to stun her and may have knocked her out, and she was slumping. As she was slumping, Brie Bella threw another kick, and that one just caught her right in the face, and she went down, and they did a near fall.
Let's stop right there. Where the hell is the referee here? She was knocked out. She was slumped. She was unconscious. Brie knew that she was out.
They should have absolutely stopped everything at that moment, and I can't give an explanation because I have no explanation. I mean, you could say they should have just stopped the match, or they could have just got her out of there and
no, you have to stop the match because you don't know if she's got a neck injury.
Yeah, I know.
Brie turned her over. She covers her. She literally dragged her to the corner by her neck to get her out of the ring. The referee's just standing there twiddling his thumbs. I'm like, what the fuck's your job here except to protect the people in the ring? They throw her out of the ring. She's laying on the ground right there. The doctor's there. Somehow she managed to get back into the ring to do a six-person suplex spot, which I couldn't even believe my eyes.
I can't believe that they had her do that.
They go to...
Well, okay, here's the thing. I can believe because you're trained as a wrestler that no matter how hurt you are, you go in there and you do your thing. But it is the job of
the doctor,
the referee, and the doctor and the referee,
anybody backstage,
to prevent you after you've been, because no matter how you slice it, I mean, you could say that you don't know how hurt she is, but
she was unconscious.
But it's very clear that she was knocked out, and once you're knocked out, you should be out of there. Absolutely, 100%. Once you're knocked out, you should be out of there. You should not be going back, taking any bumps. Again, we don't know that, it could have been a worse injury, but once you're knocked out, yeah, that should be it. Now,
granted, this stuff doesn't happen every week, okay? I watch this stuff in the 90s, and people are doing the stupidest shit on a weekly basis. It's much better now. But this was straight out of the Stone Ages here.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
But I mean, put it this way: if this was in the '90s, it would have gone exactly like it did.
Of course, it would have.
Yeah, because they would have done the whole thing. In fact, they wouldn't
have taken her to the back during the break. They would have thrown her back on the ring apron to keep going.
Did they take her to the back?
Well, I mean, she was being looked at by the doctor. She was taken out of the match. Is my point.
She was out of the match, but I mean, she was, there's people who were saying she was taken to the back. She wasn't taken to the back.
Yeah, it was Michael Cole was saying she was taken to the back, and he was sitting there right in front of her, right in front of him.
She was still there.
Yes,
but they just got her out of they just got her out of the ring. Yeah, it was a bad situation, and it's hard to explain. I mean, the thing is that it's not an everyday thing. But it's not an unusual thing either. Wrestlers get knocked out, all the time. In every company, it happens. And everybody, whether referees, doctors, everybody should know the protocol. This is not some weird thing when, I don't know, some freak thing that just doesn't happen in wrestling. This happens all the time. And the idea that everybody like didn't do what they should have done, it's a real hard one to answer.
I don't know if I could say it happens all the time. It's not like it happens every week on Raw.
No,
we haven't seen somebody
no.
knocked out on Raw, and I don't even know how long. But like
Finn Balor was, but it was a couple months ago.
He was knocked unconscious.
He was knocked out. He was given a clear concussion. Yeah.
Well, yeah, people get a concussion. But I'm talking like unconscious, dead weight in the middle of the ring.
Well, yeah, you know. But I mean, she was conscious pretty quick. But she was.
But it doesn't matter. She was unconscious for a moment there.
I do believe she went out. Yeah, I think that it looked like she went out. And yeah, I mean, there's no excuse once you go out. That's on the referee. Number one, and really, like the wrestlers are in a weird position because they have to give the idea that they're simulating fighting, but at the same time, they're not supposed to put their opponent at risk. And
well, hold on a second. They are supposed to be simulating fighting, but do you know what happens in a fight when someone is knocked unconscious?
Yeah, the referee stops it.
It's over. So we're not sitting here going, well, you know, she was knocked unconscious, but they're simulating a fight, so she has to keep going. No, if she's knocked unconscious, then the match is over. And if the wrong team won, it doesn't matter. It's fake. You can do whatever you want coming out of it. But for crying out loud, it's over.
Well, you could do that, or you could continue like they did because they had the finish that they wanted to do, and in their mind, it was important to do that finish because Natalya was supposed to lose to set up.
That's much more important than the health of one of the wrestlers to make sure we get that finish in.
Evidently, right?
It's stupid.
I can't argue. It was they handled it. They handled it badly. There's not, you know, that's happened before. I mean, but when it happened before, and there are situations that I can recall. There was one with, I think it was Beth Phoenix many years ago, where they completely botched it, and everyone afterwards admitted, yeah, we completely botched this one. You know, again, when I'm talking about Phoenix, it's years and years ago. But the thing is that the idea that everyone involved should not be like instinctually know when someone is knocked out, you don't continue the match. That's in this day and age, that's wrong. That should be something, like I said, no, this doesn't happen every week. No, it doesn't even happen every month. But it happens enough, and it's one of the things you should be trained in as a wrestler, modern day, is that, okay, when this happens, when somebody hurts their neck, when somebody is knocked out, the referee goes in there and gives the X right away, right?
You'd think. Not this ref.
Agreed. That should be the first thing. That's the referee's job. But even if he doesn't,
Bree should have stopped.
There should be. Bree should have backed off. Yep.
Don't turn her over. Don't drag her to the corner. Just stop.
Well, she was trying to go to the corner herself too when she figured out what was going on. It was a very weird thing. I mean, like Liv Morgan was instinctually trying to sort of continue while probably in a fog to some degree. So, but it's the ref's job to protect her, and it's the company's job. And look, I remember when Triple H stopped that match with Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton years ago, and he wasn't knocked out, but, his arm was limp, and he noticed it, and it was just like, and then Daniel Bryan was supposed to beat Randy Orton, remember? That was like that finish was a big deal at the time. Much bigger, 100 times bigger than this finish was on this show. And, Daniel Bryan freaked out, he was furious, and all that, but in the end, Triple H did the right thing. Okay, in that situation, even though Daniel Bryan was absolutely furious, lost his mind over it.
He was furious. He said that you continue to match with a torn quad. But the whole point is, dumb things happen in the past that you have to learn from.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing. Yes, he continued to match with a torn quad. It was really dumb. He could have ended his career. So we learned from that. If you get hurt, you're not going to continue the match.
Yeah, I mean, there in the old days, in the old days, this would have happened exactly how it did here. The referee would have ignored it. They would have tried to fake their way through it. They would have dragged her out of the ring. The match would have continued, and you'd go right to the regular finish. And in this situation, I mean, what can I say? I mean, it's you're right. You're right. There was a lot of fault in this one. And what bothers me a little bit on it, a lot really, is that, like I said, this is a situation that should not be something that people panic on because it's not an unforeseen, unheard of situation. People can get punched or kicked, and this happens. It happens in every form, every wrestling company at one time or another, someone's going to get knocked out. It's just going to happen. And everybody should be taught in their wrestling training, in everything, referee training, if somebody gets knocked out, this is the protocol.
God damn that right. That Finn Balor thing was over a year ago. It was well over a year ago. It was Jinder.
Jinder Mahal knocked him out.
Yeah, he knocked him unconscious practically, and then he ended up the world champion.
Yeah.
Dude.
Jinder did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hell.
Well, yeah, there was a little bit of controversy over that as well, because, I think he'd hurt people, but, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's going to happen again. I mean, look, people throw kicks, people throw punches, people fly in the air, guys get hurt. I mean, it's like the injury, as far as like the injury and everything, like what led to the injury, I know people want like Brie Bella's head on a platter, and it's like this stuff happens in wrestling. And I'm not saying like, again, the timing of the second kick when she was going down, which was the really ugly kick, it's like, yeah, she could have held up, but she didn't. And in some cases, people would have held up, and in some cases they wouldn't have. But that stuff happens. But it's again, it was.
I think the reason
aftermath.
people want her head on a platter is they're upset that this is not the first mistake she's made since coming back. She nearly killed herself on 2 dives. Now she's kicked this girl in the head and knocked her out. There's several things over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, she did get hurt doing that dive. But that one she almost hurt herself. But yeah, she got hurt. The match itself was a struggle anyway. But yeah, that was it's a bad spot. It's a bad thing, and hopefully they learn from it. I was just. It reminded me of that Beth Phoenix thing where I was just going like, what are you doing? What are you continuing the match? What are you dragging her out where she might? Because Beth Phoenix, I think, in that spot, and I don't remember what it was, but it was somebody again who there was a bad landing. It might have been Gail Kim, but it was a bad landing, and I thought there was a neck injury, and there may have been, and they just picked her up and all this. It's like, this is not what you do with a neck injury. And here, yeah, you don't know if there's a neck injury, but they're knocked out. You got to stop it. It was like a bad. It was the fault on this one's on the ref. It really is. He needed to be more alert. And but there's all these people backstage. There's so much going on. They should have alerted it as well. And that's the deal. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Hopefully everyone learns from this one.
On the subject of injuries, what is the update on Sasha?
I don't have a specific injury. She's off for medical reasons is all that I know. So, which we kind of already knew anyway. So as far as seriousness.
They announced it.
Yeah. So as far as whatever else, obviously they're keeping that one quiet. I mean, it's not like I haven't asked. So it's just, whatever reason, I don't know why they wouldn't say, but, usually when they don't say, there's usually a story as to why. So you end up getting more suspicious. And when you end up getting more suspicious, I don't know.
What's up with Alexa?
Alexa's the same thing. She hasn't been cleared yet, but she's cleared for minimal contact, which means she's allowed at ringside. She probably could go in and throw a kick here and there, but she's not cleared to fully wrestle.
All right.
So as far as how long, my impression is that probably wasn't going to be that long of a deal. But obviously she was at ringside this week. She was there. She didn't go to the house shows, but she did go to TV, and she did. She was there, but they didn't have her do anything. If you notice, she didn't do anything.
Nothing.
Except yeah.
Well, what'd you think of the rest of the Raw show?
I thought the 6-man tag at the end was a good match. I thought that the Revival match was really good with Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. It's probably the best Revival match since they've been on the main roster. Where they really, Ziggler and McIntyre gave them a lot. They executed it well for the most part, and hopefully they get something out of it. I don't know if they will. I heard Vince really liked the match, which is always a good thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna, that it's gonna help the revival. I mean, it certainly won't hurt the revival. Having a match like that. So we'll see what happens from there. But it's a good, entertaining match. They had a lot of cool near falls, a lot of cool double team moves. Last match was good, and I guess the show was all right. Storyline wise, they had the storyline the whole show of is Dolph Ziggler, Dean Ambrose or Drew McIntyre going to turn, which neither did, but it's a story, and it's probably going to play out over months. Originally, Dean Ambrose, before he tore his tricep and had surgery, he was going to turn heel on the Shield when they put the Shield back together. That was the plan, and Dean Ambrose was going to wrestle Seth Rollins at WrestleMania this year. So that was, the plan. That doesn't mean they're going to do the plan now. It doesn't mean they're not going to do the plan now. I had always assumed when Roman Reigns won the title that Dean Ambrose was going to turn, just because, again, it was always the plan. I figured they might as well. Seth Rollins has already turned. You're not going to turn him again, and nor should you. It's not the right time. So it all added up. So whether this is to tease you with that idea and not do it, because God knows we've seen a lot of that in the last couple of months, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But, made for an interesting show. I mean, the show didn't drag as much as usual. So that's a good thing. I didn't think it was like a killer show. The AOP got to look good in, again, the Authors of Pain they're not called Authors of Pain anymore. The AOP got to look good against top guys. So that was a good thing. Corbin was the one who took the pin, not one of them. Chad Gable losing to Connor as soon as that happened. I mean, my original reaction is what is this? This is this, Connor has no upside whatsoever, and Chad Gable does. But, it's just 50-50 booking, and it's probably not even, it's not worth worrying about, but at the same time, it's like, why would you beat Chad Gable in 2 minutes when he was starting to get momentum? I mean, it is stupid, but it's not worth getting upset stupid, but it does make me feel that, like Chad Gable, you always worry because Vince has this thing where with sometimes you'll have these underneath guys that are really good and they don't do anything with them for a long time, and they just don't. And then one day it's like, you know what? This guy's like really good. We should do something with him. And it's usually like about anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. And I think that this fit in that category, in that time frame where Vince just kind of like, oh, well, he's too small. And then we get what we get here. So that's usually the MO. So when I saw that, it's kind of like, that's a Vince MO. But, it just could be that like, well, they're doing a program with Bobby Roode and Chad Gable against the Ascension. And Bobby Roode and Chad Gable have been winning every match. So it's their turn to lose. So maybe that's
so beat Bobby Roode.
Yeah, I know. Why not beat Bobby Roode? I don't have any answers. It was. I mean, again, I get what they do because I know their pattern. That doesn't mean it's not stupid. It was stupid. There's no explanation that I can give, or that if someone gave to me that I would say is anything but a BS explanation as to why do it. There's no reason to do that. That was the wrong finish.
So Limo shows up, and it's Triple H and Steph, and she's there to bury Baron Corbin. He sucks at his job. Shouldn't have put himself in the main event last week. Apparently she saw the ratings, and signs Shield versus him and 2 partners for tonight. And she told him to smarten up or Kurt Angle might be back early. So then they started the show-long angle. Shield comes out, and Ambrose is doing this promo. Corbin comes out, talks about Stephanie's birthday, and he introduces Braun, Dolph, and Drew. And they come out, talk a little bit about the pay-per-view. Braun says it'll be the 4 of us against the 2 of you at the pay-per-view. And Seth says your math sucks. And Braun suggests Dean is inevitably going to turn on the other two. They try to recruit him.
You know that when they did the first scene where it's three of the Shield guys and Rollins and Roman Reigns both hold up their belts, and then you got Dean with no belt. It was almost like, wow. I mean, I'm just watching that scene going like, wow, Dean's going to turn.
It was totally by design for you to think that, because they brought it up later.
They brought up the whole show.
Yep, Seth and Roman are champs. Dean has nothing. You were on the shelf for 1 week, and Seth had already replaced you. And they say that Braun is going to beat Roman for the Universal title, and if Dean joins up with them, they'll guarantee him the Intercontinental title. So Roman tells him to shut up, says, let's get down here and fight. Corbin stops the match from happening and announces it is Drew and Dolph. They're going to be defending their belts later against the Revival, and he will grab some partners to take on the Shield later. We had Jinder Mahal versus Finn Balor. How ironic. Match we were just talking about. Thankfully, Jinder didn't kill the guy here. Whole thing was done as a build-up for Mixed Match Challenge. Bayley is out there with Finn. Alicia Fox is out there with Jinder. They're the teams. And Bayley decked Alicia, gave Singh the belly to Bayley. And
that was awkward. She went.
Well, she trapped his left arm, but then threw him to the right.
Yeah. It looked like she went to throw, lost balance, and went to the other side.
Well, when you do the deal, you're supposed to trap one arm because you're going to throw them on that side so you protect their arm. But I think she's used to doing it on a certain side, and he fed her the wrong arm. So she grabbed him and then ended up having to throw him to the side of the arm that was loose. Anyway, it was really weird. And then Finn rolled up Jinder and pinned him, and Jinder chewed out Sunil afterwards, but then threw him in the ring like he was going to kill him, but then broke down into his meditation. And that was that.
Yeah, Alicia Fox was real good here, doing that crazy gimmick. Just building up Mixed Match Challenge. That's really all it was. It was, I don't know. Watching it, I kind of felt sorry for Finn Balor because like he's really good and he is kind of over, but he's not nearly as over as he should be because of his booking. And even though he won here, just I guess I don't know if it's working with Jinder or whatever. Didn't feel
that's a big part of it.
Yeah, it just felt like Finn wasn't it felt like Finn Balor wasn't a big star. That was the whole feel of everything.
We had Natalya and the Bellas versus the Riot Squad. We talked about this match, and long story short, Natalya got the hot tag after all that rigmarole. Put on the sharpshooter on Logan. Ruby broke it up, hit the right kick for the pin, and that was the match.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because they had to improvise everything, but. You know, you have three baby faces against two heels, and the two heels win. It's kind of a mess, but it was, circumstances brought it on. And obviously they felt that the Riot Squad had to win because they needed the credibility going into the Australia match with Ronda Rousey. So, that was that.
And all the wrestlers on the stage, Hunter and Steph are in the ring.
That's always wonderful. Although I guess this wasn't as bad as usual.
It was pediatric cancer month time segment here. She noted they'd raised $2.5 million. They have a new partner, Hyundai, Hope on Wheels. Steph introduced the Hope on Youth ambassadors, Carter and Elizabeth. They got WWE title belts. Fans chanted, "You deserve it." Finally, a fitting usage of that chant. And then Hyundai presented a $200,000 check to WWE for Connor's cure. Very heartwarming segment. Kind of weird in the middle of the show with all the heels standing on the stage watching. Not going to lie.
Yeah, I always will remember this would be in 1991, and WWE was getting hammered in the media over steroids. And I was on the phone with Vince McMahon, and he just goes, "We're going to do so much charity work. You just watch like this." And it was just like, it's like, I know that is, you can always tell with timing and things like that when this kind of stuff is done and what it's done for. So it's like, I know the motive. It is what it is. I don't cry on these things because I know what it is. It's advertising designed as charity work. I mean, it's, again, you know, I mean, put it this way. $200,000 to Hyundai is a lot less than $1,000 to Chris Jericho, which also isn't a lot to Chris Jericho. And when I, you know, or anything that anyone else would do, it's just, to me, you know, I mean, again, this is, you know, anyone who's dealt with a lot of these charities, it's a really weird subject. It's a good thing they're doing. It is. The motives are not exactly always pure. They rarely are when it comes to big businesses. It is what it is. I like the stuff they do with Special Olympics, you know, when they put it on TV. And I like this too, but there's still the reality that, like, you know, there's a reason, and, you know, obviously what the reason is.
Dolph met with Dean. Dean tells him to get out of his face, but Dolph says, listen, everything we said out there was true. Shield doesn't care about you. I saw how good you were on SmackDown. You were the champion on SmackDown. You didn't do anything, or don't do anything tonight. Just we'll be out there watching. Give us a signal, and we'll do the rest. And Chad Gable versus Connor is noted. Connor's beat him in like 2 minutes. I have no idea why.
Well,
it's not a program that needs 50-50 booking.
No shit. It's a program that the Ascension shouldn't even be in the program. The Ascension should just be putting these guys over while they're getting ready to challenge Ziggler and McIntyre. And then maybe they could do 50-50 booking at that point. But these guys should be in that thing and then, you know, set up the Bobby Roode turn or wherever you're going to go with it. But yeah, they don't need to be loosened to the Ascension while on the way up. That's the deal. Yeah, I wasn't stunned because when I saw that match, it was almost like, God, it is their turn, the way they think. But come on, you know, Connor beating Chad Gable this week, you know. But I guess that means that the feud's just going to continue anyway.
Man, we had this bizarre thing. It's one of those things. Charlie's trying to talk to Hunter about The Undertaker. Him and Steph are leaving. Stephanie was in the ring weeping like 10 minutes earlier. Now she's just burying Charlie. And Hunter says, I'll take this question about The Undertaker. He says, if Undertaker's worried about suits, he's already lost. We're not going to be fighting in suits or in a boardroom. And then Triple H, who also was practically weeping in the ring 10 minutes earlier, says, I sold my soul a long time ago. The end is near for The Undertaker. It's just like, this is so weird. It's not even like that Connor's Cure stuff, that pediatric cancer stuff was like on social media. And like, this is the actual show. But that stuff was like apart from the show. That stuff was on the show. Like 10 minutes ago. They're the two biggest baby faces in the world. And then 10 minutes later, all of a sudden we're supposed to hate him again. And Hunter's talking about how he sold his soul to the devil, for crying out loud. It's ridiculous. But it's what they do.
That's modern wrestling. Modern wrestling is there are no baby faces and there are no heels except when there are.
Which is most of the time, except with these two.
Well, no, I mean, it depends on the situation, but...
Dude, the whole storyline of the show was, is someone going to turn heel or are they going to stay a babyface?
Yeah, pretty much. But there are other characters where they go back and forth, but rare, you know, and I guess with them they go back and forth routinely, you know, almost to the point of silliness. And this was it.
Like, it's so weird because, as a fan, am I supposed to believe that when they were out there for that segment about pediatric cancer, that they're full of shit? Is that what I'm supposed to believe?
No.
Because they tell me that they're terrible, horrible people. They come out and do this segment, but and then they're horrible people again.
Yeah, but you know that the scripted stuff is not real. You know that. So you're supposed to believe that
it's all on the same show. It's not like she's on Ellen.
I know, but the thing is it's like the characters they play are the characters they play. That's like somebody being a bad guy in a movie and actually not being a bad person. That's the idea that we're going by.
So in the movie, they just stop the movie at the 50-minute mark, and
I know. They're
everyone does an interview.
They're completely inconsistent. I know you don't do it in the movie. You don't in the middle of the movie. the character doesn't start doing their public relations stuff in the middle of the movie. They do that on their own time, not in the scripted part of the movie. I recognize that. Wrestling's a weird business. That's all I can say. It's a really weird business, and in some ways, it's I don't want to say it's getting weirder. It's getting weird in a different way.
It's getting dumb. I'd go that far.
Dumb?
Some of this stuff is dumb.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the stuff is dumb. A lot of it is, without a doubt.
Hey, the Revival versus Drew and Dolph. This was a hell of a match. Drew and Dolph just gave him everything early. And they gave him everything early, and I thought, well, then they're going to cut him off, and they're going to just beat on him forever. But gave him everything early. They cut him off briefly, and then Revival just made this long comeback. They're hitting move after move, the Doomsday Device, the Power and Glory finish. Fans are chanting, this is awesome.
They did every cool spot. They were total baby faces. Then they lost at the end, which was okay. I mean, they had to lose. I mean, the other guys are in the main event on the next pay-per-view, and they're the champions. They weren't going to change the title. But put it this way. Given that the Revival was going to lose, they gave the Revival more and gave them more opportunities to get over than you ever would see in this situation.
Do you remember, a few months ago, they did that AJ Andrade Cien Almas match, and AJ beat him clean. Mm-hmm. And their idea was, well, he's going to get over bigger and losing. And it totally didn't happen. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Now, you know what? The last AJ and Andrade match, AJ gave him the entire match. I would say easily 90% of that match.
Yes. But the point of it is
he still lost clean.
But that idea is in fact what they did here, and in this case it worked.
Okay,
because the Revival was more over here than they have ever been at any moment on the main roster.
Okay, true. There's a big difference though. The Revival going in were dead prelim guys. They were not guys on the way up. You know what I'm saying? If the Revival had about a week after week after week where you're getting the big push and they're just coming right out of NXT.
Like Chad Gable?
Like Chad Gable, right. Well, more than Chad Gable. Andrade was being pushed a lot more seriously than Chad Gable was. And then you beat them at the wrong time too early before they get this would be if the Revival had just come up on the main roster. And instead of floundering and doing nothing, and some of the Revival's floundering was because they both got hurt one after the other, and that kind of got them lost and killed their momentum. But let's just say they got win after win after win, and you're going okay, they're grooming these guys for a title match, and then they wrestled the Ascension, and the Ascension just beats them. Okay, but the Ascension beats them, but in that situation, they get to Ascension's a bad one, actually. Maybe Authors of Pain's probably a better one because the Ascension really are just prelim guys they would run through. They go in there with the Authors of Pain, and they get some offense, but they end up losing. And it's well, wait a minute. This is before they got their championship opportunity, and they've already lost. So it's not going to help get them over, even though it's against another team like that. That's the AJ Andrade thing. This is with guys that they were doing nothing with in the Revival. I mean, nothing at all. And, the fact that when they announced this match, everybody just figured that's a 5-minute squash, and it wasn't. So, yeah, it helps them. But it helps them. We'll see what happens. There could be zero follow-up, and it may mean absolutely nothing in 2 weeks. That happens all the time, too.
Elias came out for his gimmick, called out Kevin Owens for the Kevin Owens show. He wanted Leo Rush down to the ring. Leo comes out on the ramp, says, dude, I'm not going down to that ring. Kevin says, come on, let's get to know each other. Leo refuses, cuts a promo. He's the big man's hype man, the 23-year-old piece of gold. I have no idea how he's a babyface.
He's a babyface because he eludes these guys when they try to get him every time. He's like Roadrunner.
He is a heel promo.
Because isn't Roadrunner, if you really think about it, Roadrunner's not always a babyface either, even though the Roadrunner's a babyface.
Sure.
So I think it's the thing. So he's gone from being a manager to being a hype man.
He's a manager. They just like to call him a manager.
Well, because Vince doesn't like the word
So he's a hype man, just like Paul Heyman is an advocate.
Right.
In fact, they are managers.
Vince doesn't like the term managers, but I guess he's okay with managers this week. Yeah, the thing is like Bobby Lashley's a babyface, and Lio Rush is the most obnoxious babyface who needs to be a heel, given this character that he plays. But he does elude these guys. So in the end, when they are in there, I mean, the guy's so quick. He's so unnaturally quick that he's like really cool watching him do that thing. So they did it again. It was right there. Kevin Owens was about to powerbomb him, and Bobby Lashley saved him at the last second. So he's still okay. Someday I can just see Vince just,
he will be killed.
That he will be killed. And
Braun's going to get his hands on him, and that'll be the end of that.
Probably sooner than later, yeah.
So we had Elias Lashley, and Elias works exactly like Baron Corbin. Just the longest, most boring heat segments you've ever seen.
Long chin locks.
They just killed the crowd, and Lashley's a hometown guy, and they killed the crowd by the end.
He was super over at the start.
Yep. By the end, he makes a comeback. They kind of cheer. And then, I swear to God, this is the finish. Kevin Owens goes after Lio Rush. He's chasing him around the ring. Lashley has been thrown out of the ring. Kevin Owens runs around the corner and trips on Lashley. The referee determines that he has actually kicked Lashley illegally and calls for the disqualification.
What a nothing finish.
It was an all-time creative yet terrible finish right there.
Terrible finish, yeah.
And Lashley saved Lio from a 2-on-1 attack afterwards. I still cannot believe that finish. Somebody thought of that.
Hey, look, I didn't even care about it because on the whole grand scheme of things on this show, the Connor finish with Chad Gable's the bad finish. This was just their typical, we don't want to beat a guy finish, so let's get out of it without a finish. So they did it in a different way. I mean, normally it would just be Bobby Lashley has him up for his finisher and Kevin Owens runs in the ring for the DQ. They did it differently this time. Quite frankly, the way I just described it would have been better.
Yes.
Even though it's routine because this
heel was screwed by the referee.
Well, it was just stupid. It was just a stupid finish.
Yes. Seth met with Drew. Says, I got some truth for you. Braun does not care about you. He's using you to get what he wants. Dolph is the weak link. He's been riding your coattails since day one. He's getting all the title shots. You should be getting them. You've been carrying him all over the place. Tells him to look in the mirror and think about who's being used here. He leaves. Dolph walks up. He says, what was that all about? And Drew says, don't worry about it. Walks off. Nia Jax, Alicia Fox. Quick match. Nia beat her with a Samoan drop. Ember dived onto Mickey before the finish. Just kind of a match. Drew met with Dean. Talks about how Seth met with him and spun everything they said about the Shield to him. Says maybe that's because everything they said earlier tonight was true. Maybe they're looking for a replacement. Says it's not like Seth ever stabbed you in the back before. Have an Undertaker Triple H video package and then the main event, which was Shield versus Corbin and his two partners AOP. And Drew, Dolph, and Drew, Dolph, and Braun came out to watch. And they went back and forth for a long time, cut off Seth. Dean Ambrose made the hot tag. Both Roman and Seth got laid out, so he worked on all three guys by himself. And finally, AOP set up their finish. Roman made the save. Tons of dives and such by Rollins. I'm sure you're surprised.
And Ambrose.
Yep, Dean finally hit the dirty deeds. Big dive. Roman got a blind tag. Speared Corbin for the pin. So afterwards, Ambrose is sitting in the aisle. And he's sitting between the Shield and Braun's crew. And there's a light Shield chant. And he looks at the heels, looks at the baby faces, hits the ring, celebrates with the Shield. And Reigns and Rollins are smiling, but Ambrose is just glaring at the stage the entire time. Corey Graves says, if there was any question about the Shield being on the same page, this should eliminate any doubt. I thought, I have more doubt than ever right now after that show.
Well, yeah, but that's the way that they, that's the story.
That's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Good angle. Good show-long angle. I mean, really, the Australia show is just a random six-man, so this is a good storyline.
Yeah,
to add some intrigue to what is just kind of a match.
Yeah, because originally it would just be a match where they would pin Dolph Ziggler, and that's that, right?
Yep.
So this way, at least it's like, is McIntyre going to turn? Is Ambrose going to turn? and they'll probably tease both guys turning at certain points in the match.
And I'm sure at some point down the road, both of them will turn.
Obviously McIntyre should split from Ziggler at some point. I mean, I think that's been given from the minute they were put together. And yeah, Ambrose, unless they, that was always the idea. So I could see that happening for sure. Yeah.
What's up with the Hulk Hogan and Saudi Arabia?
There's nothing for sure, but there's certainly the feeling within the company that the guy's not tweeting that unless there's something to it, right?
The Saudi prince tweeting a picture of Hulk Hogan?
Well, it's the head of the sports minister. It wasn't the prince himself. It was let me see, the sports authority chairman.
Sports authority chairman.
Yeah, who was the guy who But that's the ones who the deal was with the sports authority. Well, it's with the prince too, but yeah. So him tweeting a picture of Hulk Hogan, which seemingly, given the timing of everything and given the fact that they want those old guys, as soon as I saw that, I don't know that Hulk Hogan's going to be on the show, but as soon as I saw that, it was like, I bet Hulk Hogan's going to be on the show. And I asked, and that was kind of the feeling within the company, is like, probably, but it's, no one said anything officially. It's not like it's officially on a lineup right now where I can say, yeah, he's there, but certainly everyone would, most people came to the same conclusion.
They bring him back for that meeting and it doesn't go well. He drops off the face of the planet for a long time, and he finally would make his big return at the Saudi Arabia show.
Well, that's the show. That's the money show. That's the show it's all about money, and that's the one.
All right, here's the card for New Japan in Long Beach this coming Sunday, the Walter Pyramid, which will not be airing live on...
So it's live on New Japan World.
It'll be New Japan World, but not on Access.
Yeah, so with Jim Ross and Kevin Kelly announcing.
The main event is Ishii and Okada versus Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega. That should be a hell of a match.
That should be a hell of a match. So I guess the most likely finish is Ishii losing. Did they do an angle with Omega and Ibushi? This is what's weird, and this is one thing that I think New Japan is really doing wrong right now. I don't believe. Maybe if they sell out Sumo Hall, then more power to them. But I know that this show in Long Beach is not sold out, and one, or even close. And one of the reasons is because they didn't announce a card, and now we're 6 days away. We have a card. It's a card. It's not a big card. It's not a small card. It's a card. It's like it's better than the Destruction shows because it's deeper, but it's still not. I guess if they're going to run like a 4,700 seat building, it's a card. But I know a lot of people are kind of disappointed in it, and again, I think that one of the issues is that, and I really notice a lot of people saying this, and I believe this myself too. I think that the people who want to go to New Japan want authentic New Japan. They want the big matches, which the main event's a really good match. It's a hell of a match, but I think that they want I think they want the Japanese highlighted more, as opposed to New Japan Pro Wrestling, but we're going to build it all around the Americans. And it's like, yes, you can build the Americans. Obviously the Young Bucks and Omega are probably the keys to the U.S. market. So I can see why you feature them. But, like this show has Daniels and Kazarian and Chris Sabin and Jeff Cobb and people like that. And they're all good. And they're going to have good matches. But I think that the people that want to see New Japan Pro Wrestling want the matches. They want like the guys that are in New Japan Pro Wrestling and not Chris Sabin or Christopher Daniels or these guys with the idea. I just think that's what they want. So that's that's one of the that's an issue right here. But
The rest of it is Juice Robinson Cody, IWGP United States title.
Yeah, Juice has done some really good promos for this match. It's interesting because Cody's NWA champion. When they first made this match, I was like pretty sure that Cody was going to win the championship, and maybe he will. So it's going to be you know. I mean, the last Juice Robinson match on an American show was pretty freaking great. So we'll see what happens here.
Young Bucks Gorillas of Destiny coming off the last show, IWGP Tag Team titles.
Yeah. Well, it's the angle off the last show.
We lost Ray Marty Skrull for it's a semifinal match, IWGP Junior Heavyweight title.
Tournament, yeah. That match is going to be fantastic. I mean, I expect those two guys to tear they always have great matches. They're like, you know, they're just tremendous together. This is a big show. It's the tournament and everything like this. The last match they had was unbelievable. So, yeah. You know, I mean, what I think going in here is I think that, like, you're going to get that great main event, and you're going to have this match is going to be great, and the other matches up and down the show, every match looks good to me. So I think it's going to be a good show with two great matches. That's how I'm kind of looking at it right now. Maybe more than two great matches, who knows? But I think two locks. This is a lock. This one is, you know, it's going to be great.
Tanahashi and Kushida versus Jay White and Ghetto. Obviously stemming from Saturday.
Yeah, I think everyone in the world knows who's losing that fall. And,
yep.
Yeah, it's setting up Tanahashi and Jay White, which I'm going to guess is going to be at Sumo Hall. The Sumo Hall's October 8th. I thought for sure they were going to announce that card today, and they did not, which means that they're going to like do angles in Long Beach this week, most likely, for Sumo Hall, which would be 8 days later. And it's like you're doing like Sumo Hall, which is a 10,000 plus seat arena, and you're shooting angles 8 days ahead. It's one thing to shoot angles when you have a card, but you're shooting angles to lead to the announcing of the matches, which means that you're not going to announce the matches until probably Monday for a card that's on the next Monday in a big building like that. I mean, you don't even have, it's one thing like if you had like 4 big matches and you just like shot some angles for 2 or 3 more big matches and then filled out the undercard. I mean, you literally have nothing on this card at all other than Kushida is going to be wrestling against, either Will Ospreay or Marty Scurll. That's literally the only thing that we know. I mean, I expect Zack Sabre and Evil. I expect Jay White against Tanahashi. I think that's a real good bet. Maybe it'll be Omega and Ibushi, and maybe they feel that Omega and Ibushi's so big that if they announce it a week out, they're still going to sell out. And they did sell out Budokan with that. And I don't know. I just feel that like these big cards, they need to be announcing these matches earlier.
Last 4 matches. We got Naito, Evil, and Sonata versus Sabre and the Killer Elite Squad. Flip Gordon.
So the key there is no Minoru Suzuki on the card. And people are already asking me why, and it's just no Minoru Suzuki on the card. Now, they don't bring everyone, and they're not bringing him. And I think the thing is it's Sabre and the Killer Elite Squad, and it's that mentality that we're going to put the Americans on the show. Although, again, Smith and Archer and Sabre are, regular New Japan guys. So, yeah, that's the deal.
Flip Gordon, Chris Sabin, Jeff Cobb versus the Best Friends and Goto.
Just a match with, and again, Chucky T was on the last tour, but I don't think people think of him as a New Japan guy. I mean, he's wrestled for New Japan. Beretta a little more because he's been going there for a while. I mean, Cobb will probably be in New Japan a lot more going forward. Sabin, nobody thinks of as a New Japan guy at all. So, yeah, it's good guys. They're good wrestlers. There's no story to the match. Maybe there's a story coming out of the match. Hopefully there's a story coming out of the match.
Kazarian and Daniels versus Chase Owens and Hangman. And ACH, Taguchi, and Liger versus Roppongi 3K.
Yep. Yeah, ACH is another one. I mean, he's been in New Japan before. He's a good wrestler. But, it's just guys thrown in what would come across as random matches. So hopefully, again, like these random matches lead to something. And very often they do. But, I mean, I don't expect all of a sudden this big run of tickets, even with that very good main event.
Well, Jon Jones, what do you want to say?
I listened to Malky Kawa and...
Low bar of entry to be an MMA manager, apparently.
It's a different... Yeah, I just listened to him, and it's just like, I don't know why he did these shows, and
What is he talking about?
Yeah, I know. I just... I can't... I'm just listening, and it's just like... I just couldn't get it. It's like he's saying that Jon Jones didn't turn state's evidence, but he did. That he's not turning anyone in, but if he doesn't, he's... What USADA said was that he's cooperating, and if he stops cooperating, they can put the suspension back to where it used to be. I don't know if that's really right because they had an arbitrator, and the arbitrator's ruling is final. But that's what they said. Right now, I'm at this point right now where I'm just not believing nobody. I just think they're all full of it. No one's got credibility with me, and I just think the whole situation is pathetic. Really, I think this whole situation just sucks. I was at a show Friday night, and people were coming up to me on the Jon Jones thing, and it was unanimous. Everyone is just like, it just depressed them. They just really, people see through this. Everyone sees through it that's followed this story, and it's not like it's going to kill UFC. That stuff doesn't kill UFC. Conor and Khabib are still going to do whatever they're going to do, the exact same number of buys they were going to do no matter what. But it's just a black eye for USADA. It's a black eye for UFC. The whole situation is they're not doing themselves any good. It's very, very, very short-term thinking. But that's, in all businesses, you have a lot of short-term thinking.
All right, let's jump into the mailbag here. Mailbag at WrestlingObserver.com. Spurs says, given what happened last night with Brie Bella, I was interested in hearing how New Japan deals with this. Are there any wrestlers currently in New Japan who have a reputation for injuring their opponents? How does New Japan deal with situations where a wrestler repeatedly and carelessly causes injuries to their opponents?
Has there been anyone that really carelessly, repeatedly has injured anyone? There are guys get hurt all the time. But all their injuries, I'm trying to think if there's... Again, almost every time there's a New Japan injury, it comes on something really simple. Like Dragon Lee thing. But the Dragon Lee thing was a botched spot. That could happen in, it was a dangerous spot, but it was a botched spot. And it's a move that Dragon Lee and Hiromu have done together dozens of times. They do it in I won't say every match, but they do it in many of their matches. So, that was the last really bad injury. What other injuries have there been that were significant of late? Goto, Evil hurt his knee, but, it's a knee injury. Who else? I'm trying to think what other significant injuries there have been. Honma was a draping DDT. You can't get mad at Jado for doing a draping DDT. So, yeah, no, there's nobody on that thing that has a rep for being dangerous or anything like that. In fact, most of the guys that you think are dangerous, whether it was Shibata or Suzuki or Ishii, when you talk to the guys that work with them, they do nothing but sing their praises about how, they kick you hard, okay, but they don't hurt you. They hurt you. Everyone's got a bruised up chest, my God, but as far as like injuring someone, nobody has. I can't think of anyone who has a rep for hurting people there. And again, the situation like what happened tonight in, there's situations that they'd have a doctor out there and who knows? I mean, Will Ospreay hurt himself and the match continued, but Will Ospreay said he was okay. And you don't know that he's not. It wasn't, and he was, and he was. I mean, I remember, he told me, he said, like, I didn't feel a thing. I did my match. I mean, he's covered in blood, but that shit happens. Guys get bloody all the time. Yoshihashi got hurt just the other day, and he finished, he did his run-in spot. They didn't stop it. And he was taken to the hospital afterwards, but he did, he basically did the same thing. They didn't stop him from doing the thing. So, the same thing would happen. Same thing would happen there. The ones that are the ones that are the most vigilant is CMLL. Those guys will take guys out on stretchers for stuff that everybody else would just let them keep going. I guess maybe because they're commission regulated, so you don't take any chances. But
it makes it seem to be significantly more dangerous.
Yeah, but they're not selling the danger. That's not what they're selling. But they
but as a fan, if you are going to Arena Mexico and like guys are getting stretchered out on a weekly basis, I mean,
but it's for precautionary reasons.
Sure, but for some fans, that's a lot of fun. It's crazy.
I don't think this day and age that's the case. I mean, there was a time where I would agree with you, but I've seen too many shows with too many sets of fans that the bloodthirsty aspect of the fans, I don't see that at all anymore anywhere. They're into the entertainment thing. I mean, I remember like when we were at PWG, it would really hit me when somebody, God, who was it? I think it was Leo Rush. I believe it was Leo Rush when he was still there. Got knocked silly in a match, and we were all kind of worried about him, and everyone was. And I was like, and he was bleeding, and it was hardway blood, and I was thinking, like, God, 10 years ago, seeing that hardway blood and seeing that he really got rocked in that match, people would be all turned on. It's like, oh man, it's brutal, it's real, it's great. Everybody was just like, they were wanting to stop the match. That was the mood in the building. It hurt the match. Like the term "fortunate blood," like it wasn't the case. The people saw that they thought he was knocked out, and they just wanted it stopped because they had empathy for the guys, and that was the But that's a more advanced audience than any other audience in the country. But still, so I mean, it's not necessarily. But I mean, if you went to a WWE house show and somebody got all bloodied up from an accident, that doesn't turn the fans on. They want a safe show. Does blood in a grudge match help? Yes, if it's safe blood. You know what I mean? But as far as like something where somebody gets hurt, I don't necessarily think that's a turn on anymore. In the past, yes, but I sense the fans are very different now.
This person here says, if Fox adds NXT to FS1, and with the money WWE will have in a year or two, could WWE buy the Ring of Honor, Rev Pro, Progress, etc. tape libraries, add them to the network, and increase the price of the network? They could do that without any of that stuff.
Who knows?
They could buy it right now if they wanted to.
Yeah, if you want to overpay, but they don't, they're not into overpaying. I mean, what have they ever bought where they've overpaid? You know what I mean? It's like they'll buy, the tape libraries they bought were fire sales, essentially. Like the Houston library, one of the reasons why the Houston library isn't owned by WWE is because they offered so little for it that essentially, it's Paul Bosch's widow, Valerie. So it's their library, and she hired Bruce Starr basically to sell to WWE, and WWE offered so little for it that's when they decided to do that streaming service, which, obviously was not a big success. And now I guess Billy Corgan owns the library. And yeah, if they want to pay Billy Corgan all kinds of money for that Houston library, just tons of money, there's a number you could throw out there that he's going to sell. But that number is multiple times what they were willing to offer before. So I can't see Ring of Honor selling. I don't want, Look, if you offer him like $50 million for the tape library, you can buy every library you want. But Revolution Pro and Ring of Honor and these guys, they're not looking at selling their tape library. They're looking at keeping their business going. So it'd have to be an outrageous offer. And look, they can afford it now. They don't make outrageous offers. It's one of the things, like, a lot of people are thinking, like, are they going to do this for, like, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks? And they may not. I don't know. But they're not in the habit of making outrageous offers, even though they can afford them.
This person here says, do you believe that the Conor and Jon Jones situations would have been handled differently if UFC was still run by the Fertittas?
Jon Jones, no. Conor, what I think would happen with Conor is that Lorenzo would have sold, because that's kind of what happened. I think he just would have gotten fed up. But as far as would he have fired Conor? No. Would he have not booked Conor on pay-per-views? No. So essentially, no. It had been handled the same way.
First says, in the Jim Neidhart article you wrote that Anvil worked for WWF without a contract. Why then did he agree to do this whole humiliating DX angle after the Montreal screw job and not stayed home like Owen or work for WCW? Was he thinking he will continue to work there?
No, he knew he was done, but he was looking to leave on professional terms and do what they asked. And, I thought it was a sad situation, what happened, but, I didn't have any doubt that he was going to do it because, again, you don't want to burn that bridge. And I think there's that mentality that you may want to go back there someday. And, you don't want to, so... Yeah, you could say he shouldn't have done it, and he should have just said, screw you, I've got a job in WCW, so I don't need to do this. But, in the weird way of, and again, without having a contract, he could have done it. But in the mentality of wrestlers then, now, and everywhere else, unless you're Bruiser Brody, who would have, just said, screw it, because, I'm not going to compromise my marketability for your dumb idea. What Neidhart was, Neidhart's looking for a job, paycheck to paycheck, and he did he did what he was asked, and he didn't have an ego about it, and probably took it a lot less seriously than everybody else as far as doing it. I mean, Bret Hart wasn't mad at him for doing it. It was just, he was probably mad at them for booking it. A lot of people were probably mad at them for booking it, but mad at Jim for doing it? Nah, not at all.
This person here says, do you guys feel like Shuto and Tiger Mask's contributions to the development of MMA have been underappreciated in light of all the recognition Pancras has received for its 25th anniversary? Seems to me that many fans and media outlets have seemingly left out the organization from the MMA canon.
You could say that, but it wasn't a big deal in Japan. I was there, and Shuto was like so, Shuto was so under the radar, but it did exist. Whereas, Pride and Rings and UWFI and Pancras, they were big time organizations that drew big crowds. So, it's just a different thing. But yes, Sayama really did have the first, he trained guys and they did real matches before anybody else did but they also weren't using pro wrestlers. They were using guys. The thing with the Pancras and the UWFI was actually mostly at work anyway. But the Pancras, which had worked matches, but it was mostly a shoot. That was one of the keys to that is that they, everyone in the organization except for Bas Rutten was a pro wrestler. So it was pro wrestlers fighting for real, which was part of the keys to the appeal as opposed to just unknown guys fighting for real that we don't know and we have no emotional connection to.
This person wants to know if there are going to be any tryouts when WWE goes to Melbourne.
I don't know.
This person here says, will Shawn Michaels and Triple H be allowed to do the crotch chops and suck it introduction at the Saudi Arabia show?
I don't know. I don't know what their culture. I don't know enough about their culture to give an answer on that.
And since it's all over the board today, could you discuss the conflicting reports, this person says, of Gorilla Monsoon being the father of Victor Canones?
All right. So, I talked to Victor for 18 years. from the first time I talked to Victor was the couple of hours after Brody died. And, Victor was Brody's best friend there. So he called me, which probably he should have done. So we talked all the time, and Victor was definitely a very slimy person, but I talked to him all the time and through many different phases of his life. And at the end, he died young, had a heart attack, was really sad. He, was drinking a lot at the end, man. That guy, at the beginning, it's like he always drank, but at the end it was, it was real bad. Like it was one of those guys where it's like, oh my God, this is a real problem. Because even in the morning, at night, it got bad at the end. And I don't know if that had anything to do with his death, but he was spiraling downward, business wise. IWA, when it was doing good, he was great and all that. Okay, so we talked about Monsoon all the time because he was very close with Monsoon, and he always told me that Monsoon was not his father, but he was a father figure to him. So I always figured, it's not like Victor's always going to tell the truth, but that's what he told me, because there was always the rumors that he was Monsoon's son. And, so when, we talked when Monsoon had all of his health problems, and it was, it was like talking to a family member. He was all worried, about Monsoon's weight, his diabetes. Like I said, we talked about Gorilla all the time. And, he talked of him, it was like it was, I don't want to say his father, but, maybe his uncle or whatever. Okay. So when Gorilla died, the obit said, survived by whatever, and son Victor Quinones from San Juan, Puerto Rico. So it's not the first I heard. I had heard the rumors before I ever knew Victor. I didn't know if they were true or not. But like I said, Victor always denied them to me, and we talked about Monsoon constantly. It was like, I wouldn't say it's like our number one topic of conversation by any means, but whenever Monsoon had a health problem, he brought it up to me. It's like, oh, Gorilla, or Gino. He always called him Gino. He never called him Dad or whatever. He said, oh, Gino's in the hospital. Gino's unhealthy. He worried about the guy constantly. And always admitted they were super close. He never said he was his godson, which was always the other story that we went around in wrestling, was that he was his godson. It was just like, we're very, very close. He's like family. He's like family to me, was how he put it. So that's the story.
All right, everybody. On that note, we're going to wrap it up for today. We've had Observer Radios all weekend, either with myself or Garrett, with Dave, and of course, Observer Lives, and so much more. Back issue of The Observer is up, and a new Observer coming out on Wednesday, so check that out. And that is it from here. We will talk to you again after a while.